So let's start bringing back everything we had. Okay, so continuing on, let's remove this, and we kind of want to bring back basically our inventory, which is going to give us the attacks from the weapons and so on and so on. Let's open up our scripts here and let's take a look what we had for this. And as you remember, or most likely remember, we had from here, I believe, I think we are going to need this too, so let's put this over here, get item action container. Let's search in here. And yeah, it comes from the character state manager, that's why we couldn't find it before. So copy that and paste it below here. As you see, play target item action now does not return us true or false because we are not using any more actions, so there's no need to actually interrupt it. Okay, so remove this, and now we're going to need the execute item action, but the old one had, let's see, item action container. Yeah, okay, you kind of need to know the character state manager, but I believe this is kind of not really. Yeah, no, we do have a lot of things here, so we're just going to pass the controller instead, and from the controller we could just do execute action. Okay, so let's get back at it. Execute item action, pass this, get item action container. It requires, let's see, well, you don't actually require anything, I guess. No, you do require the item actions. Well, that's kind of annoying. Let's see, where does this get it from? Item actions, then player state manager was using the default item actions, I believe, yeah. Yeah, that's going to get messy pretty fast, you know. So let's ignore that. Let's ignore what we had before and let's create a new method then for all of this. So before we actually do any of this, we kind of need to know how we are loading our weapons and how are we going to be taking, loading our item actions and so on and so on. So I'm going to make one protected item action, which is going to have the current actions. Okay, and we can make this into a new, well, actually we don't need to initialize them, but we kind of need to also have the item actions, the default ones. So current actions on start will be the default actions, and this is a deep copy, okay, which means it's going to take the values from one and assign them to the other, most likely, but just to be sure, let's do a method that copies default. So let's say void reset current actions. Yeah, I have trust issues, as you know. So for I default actions.length, before we do that, current actions needs to be initialized as item actions default actions.length. Okay, then current actions, I equals new item action. Let's see. Oh, it's the abstract. It's an abstract class. Yeah, okay, we can't do that because it's an instance of an abstract class. So yeah, I think we're just going to have to copy them. Yeah. So that will be current actions equals default actions. Okay. So moving on. So we now have our actions, and when playing an attack input, we're now going to get the attack actions. We don't need the container, I believe. We just need to go through our current actions, and if current actions attack input, let's see, input, no, what are we missing? Let's see, what does this have? This is the item action container. Then what does the item action has inside? Item action container. Yeah, okay. That's what it does. So this is kind of useless. The item action is useless. So let's switch all this to item action container. But because this now is going to be serialized class, yeah, that's kind of tricky now. No, it's not, because we have the item action. Okay, but we should be setting up the default ones then, because it's a serialized. Actually, no, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so back to this. Dot attack input. If it's equals the attack input, then return me your current action, which means, let's delete this line, it doesn't do anything, which means we can enable this and this. And yeah, I think only just these two. So execute item action, it will run the item action on this one. So if it's an attack, it's going to do that. So let's test this out before we add any weapons to that. And let's fix the errors that are coming from this. Because we changed the base class, we need to change this to the controller, but it's going to give you some other problems. So let's comment it out for now. Actually, no, I think we should not comment this out because these are going to be attacks. So I'm just going to keep the play target animation. Okay, and we'll see later with this what we're going to do. Okay, but first we kind of need to set up our default actions. So I'm going to set first one animation name. Let's pick one of the animation names, attack 1 for example. Not the camera, we want the player controller. Attack 1, and we want the attack action. Attack can be RB. Okay, we don't really need is mirror, is 200 or anything else, and I think we don't even need the actual item. So I'm going to split this up, and I'm going to also switch this to left bumper as well, so we get an animation either way. So I'm not having to look on which inputs I'm using. Okay, so as you see, we're now attacking based on the default actions, which basically these are going to be punch 1. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't change now because these are the default actions. These are not only used for when starting or when resetting this. But if I start it again and saying that this is punch 1 and this is punch 1 but is mirrored, you'll see that it's going to change the effects of this. Okay, punch 1 and punch 2. Punch 1, punch 1 but mirrored. There is, yeah, I don't know where this rotation is coming from, to be honest. It could be from, yeah, I don't know. Let's switch on navigation. Yeah, that's not going to show the velocities. That's interesting. Okay, we'll find them. I think it's probably from the animation. Let's see. This was probably, it didn't find, yeah, because of the wrong key, it didn't actually find an atom container. This is not going to be a problem because all 4 of these are going to have, yeah, we're going to basically have 4 default actions. Okay, let's leave it at this. Now, whenever we're loading a weapon, let's see what we were doing before, and I believe it was from the character state machine or the character state manager, and let's say, okay, get item action container. Okay, I don't see why we have this 2 times, but whatever, can't remember that now. Okay, so here's what we need, but we're going to make this slightly different. Okay, so yeah, we're going to need all of this, I believe. Get item weapon holder manager. Yeah, this is going to get a little bit messy if we do a copy paste, so we're going to do it again simplified. Okay, so we can say that this is working and is working fine. We don't really need anything from here. We know it's working and we just tested. So let's say, let's collapse first of all of this. We still need to do some movement, some fixes on the movement of our character. Okay, we're going to do that later. We don't have to worry at this time for that, because I want to keep moving rather than spending hours fixing bugs. So let's create our weapon manager then. And I think we already have, yeah, we have our weapon holders. Hook, holder hook, weapon item hook. Okay, so we're going to use the same logic with this. Now, if I remember correctly, this will go onto the hands of the player. Onto your rig, that is. And true enough, that's for the left hand, that's for the right hand, which is what we need. So, going back now. Okay, we already have them, so let's bring our weapon holder manager, which is this. We can add it onto our player, but we need to also add it onto our controller as well. So, weapon holder manager, weapon holder manager. On start, we're going to do get component weapon holder manager. And of course, we need to do init as well, which in turn is going to go and take all our get okay, and it's going to basically set the left hook and the right hook into the appropriate position. So that means you don't really need this, and you don't really need this. You also don't need to have public all these variables here, okay, because we are using this to load it. So we can now save, or you know what, let's say from the controller we can assign the weapons we want to use. That's why I'm going to keep it. Yeah, so I'm going to bring this to public as well. I'm going to keep them public, so I can basically just call this until we create a more, ID based system with having a resource manager and so on and so on. So for now, I'm just going to go and say weapon holder manager dot load weapon on hook, weapon holder manager dot right item is left false, and duplicate that is left true, and we want the left item. Left item, okay. Let's go inside, however, and check that what happens if you are passing a null item. Okay, if your weapon item is null, then you are loading your weapon if you have a previous, okay, and it's going to work like that also. Load weapon model. This will load the model, but I think it's not going to load. It's still going to play the default actions. Well, definitely, since, we do not have the... And okay, let's see where this is null. Yeah, we forgot our weapon holder manager. Here it is, and let's assign the right item. Let's use the great sword. Hit play. Okay, but it still does the punches because, as we said, it doesn't actually load the item. So instead of doing this from your weapon holder, let's cut it and let's do public void load weapon. We want to have the weapon item, and bool is left or not. We're going to manage on the weapon manager. We're going to load it from here, and then for weapon item dot item actions dot length, we're going to be assigning them on our default actions. So default actions dot not default actions, on our current actions. Current actions I dot, yeah, okay, we should be replacing them, so that's why we had the item action container. Having this onto item action container list, yeah, it's all coming back to me. Let's switch this to L, L, and L, so that we can actually use this here, which means item action container get item action container from your weapon item dot item actions, item actions I dot attack input, and yeah, we also need this weapon item actions. Okay, so then current actions, oh no, this is wrong. We want the current actions So current actions I, or actually no, we just want the item container. Yeah, item container dot animation name will be what we have above. So that will be item action container. Let's call it WA, so weapon action or item action, whatever. And weapon item dot item actions I. Okay, then let's replace what we can make it as a shortcut. So WA anim name IC dot is mirrored. We're going to fix that is mirrored. It's going to be control if it's left or not. IC dot item action WA dot item action IC dot item actual WA dot item actual. And I think that's all that is relevant at the moment. Attack input, we don't need it, okay. And we're going to fix it to hand it later via an input. So this needs to be current actions. So this now should be loading the weapon whenever we are calling it. Load weapon, weapon holder manager dot right item is left, false, load weapon, weapon holder manager dot left item true. But there's also one more thing that we need to do. If weapon item is null, simply return. Return is not actually the, yeah, okay, simply return, to be honest. And also, either it's being left or right, we are not changing the inputs from here. We need to change this later. So if it's on the left, you're all getting the left inputs. Or we could just simplify it at the end. Okay, and let's see where the error is. Get item container, item container. I think it's coming from the right item at the moment. Let's actually see though. Now you do have like this, then okay, but the reset current actions needs to go above right now. Otherwise, you'll be getting, yeah, otherwise you're going to be resetting the items that you loaded. Should play. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that didn't work. But the I think the left attack is on my left click, but the right attack is on the right one. But yeah, as you can see, I can actually attack, or better, yeah. Oh, it changes the default action, so that means the reset current action, this one does not makes a shallow copy. It doesn't make an actual copy. So we will need for default actions dot length if not if current actions new default actions dot length current actions I equals new item action container and current actions I dot anim name default actions I dot anim name dot attack input is mirrored is to hide it, it's not relevant. Item action, item actual, though this is going to just be null. Okay, so now it's a deep copy and not a shallow copy. Awesome. So let's also fix the attack inputs. So for that, we're going to have to say return me the attack input. Bool is left. If not is left, return the input as it is. Else, switch IMP return LB. Oh, come on. Okay, RB. This is such a pain in the buttocks just to have, you know, just to have, you know, placing the attacks left and right, which is so annoying, to be honest. Okay, so get attack input. Is left. So now it should be working fine. Minimize that. Let's see how we are on time. Okay, we are 30 minutes. Okay, there's no target animation for that, but yeah, okay. Here's our attack. Let's fix that if this is not the item action container. This is actually kinda wrong, though, since we have the default actions. And let's make this public so that we can actually see what's happening here. Maybe we forgot to do something, but I guess we could just fix the inputs here as well. RB, LB, yeah, okay, that's why. RT and LT. So now this error should not be popping when we are pressing a weapon, when we are pressing a key that doesn't have animation on it. Of course, we should change that later. Okay, so these are default actions and these are the current actions loaded by the attack. So saying that, let's say we add 2 great swords on both of our hands. On our current actions, we have RB and LB and is mirrored. Okay, so now you can attack 2 ways. That's a trigger, that's why we didn't attack. And like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. Awesome. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this part. It might seem a little bit confusing what we're doing right now, but everything now is centralized. We are using the same scripts we write on previous videos, so you can watch those if you have a lot of questions, or just ask in the comments. But basically, yeah, the idea is the controller will now be managing attack. It's going to be managing actions, weapons, and stuff like that. And I think it's far more simpler than what we had before, as you can see, because everything is here. So before we actually go though, let's split into regions. Let's call this movement. And I guess handle animations since are the animations for movement. And let's do handle or items and actions. Just so that we know what does what. Okay, the update obviously needs this, so we can take this and move it below here. Now, actually, yeah, we should make an unload weapon as well. So if weapon item is null, you shouldn't just do that. You should also load back the default actions. So if is left, yeah, okay, this needs some more thinking, but if the weapon item is null, then that means get me the attack action from the default actions. So default action, get me the attack input dot lb. We already have the attack input we want, so can delete this. Okay, and get me the get item action container, the target action. Get item action container, attack input dot lb from your current actions. And since we're going to be copying this, let's encapsulate and do void copy item action container from to. Okay, so copy this, paste it in here. This is 2. What? Yeah, okay. This is 2, and this will be from is left. Should be done. Yeah, okay, we can do this later, or upwards, I guess. So we don't need this and these two. From WA to IC. Okay, and then we can do the same thing above here. From default action to target action, and also target action dot is left is mirrored equals is left, which means yeah, okay, we do need this LT, which means we can remove that as well. We can do get attack input, right bumper is left, so it's going to be switched. RT, so this is useless and this is useless. And there we go. We also have unloading a weapon. But of course, there's one more thing that we haven't done is load weapon on hook should be now before we check this. Because it's also, if you already have a model in your hands, okay, we obviously need to cut it. So there's no way to actually test this at the moment because we do not have an unload method, but we're going to fix that later. Okay, let's finish this part, however, because we've done so many and you might get confused. So you know what to do. like, subscribe, and if you like to see more stuff like this, then consider supporting my Patreon so we can keep making all of these things. I'll see you next time.